Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit here, back again with Hunter x Hunter. We are on episode 71, and in the last episode, where I was expecting to, the end to this dodgeball match, because of the general pace that this show tends to go on, it did not happen. So we're still in the sort of, I think the end stages. I don't think the dodgeball match is going to last to the end of this upcoming episode, but I still think we've got at least one more exciting thing yet to happen, because Gon has brought out the big gun, so to speak. He's already used it twice, and it increased in power to the second time, so I imagine the third one, I mean, because they said that it was going to happen. Like, they basically said, like, you know, because Killua's going to hold the ball for the third time, right? And his hands are already fucked up. So they've already announced that it is going to happen. And, you know, it's just a question of whether or not he's going to be able to generate enough power to knock out Razor, because he was able to basically, you know, do the whole receive volleyball thing to slow it down enough so that he could catch it. And I was talking about in the last episode 70 post discussion that, you know, is it that he's very, like, narcissistic? Like, does he feel like that confident that he's going to be able to stop it? So he's just going to, instead of dodging it, he's going to, you know, basically take it head on. We'll have to wait and see. But, you know, we've got the dream team on the court. Killua, Gon, and Hisoka. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't know. Oh, yeah. The one thing I did want to mention, because some people pointed it out to me, thank you, you know who you guys are, that I was talking about the sort of powers that both Razor and Gareno, yeah, he was. I was saying that it's got to be conjuring, right? When in reality I was completely off base. There was something with Gareno being a manipulator, I believe. But Razor himself, yeah, while he is an emitter, he is actually using emitting, with the other, like, basically his teammates, and it's something called emission, which is which, you know, I hope you can forgive me, because I don't think they've mentioned that in the show at all. So it did kind of catch me off guard. But yeah, thank you for pointing that out to me. You know, so it's obviously going to have to be something that I'm going to have to just keep on looking at, like, in the future. If something pops up, I can't just, you know, say that, oh, it is conjuring. You know, so yeah. I don't think there's anything else to really talk about then. Okay, so we're just going to get in episode 71 and see what we get. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, episode 71. Okay, well, that that episode had the best moment of the show so far for me. Primarily because, you know, everything was so... I just love the Dream Team. I love them. I love them a bit. I mean, I did say during the reaction that, like, you know, I want more of Hisoka, Gon and Killua to be just, you know, a team together. But, you know, thinking on it, I suppose it kind of just doesn't fit with Hisoka's character really to do that, you know what I mean? So, I mean, the reason why it was so good was because Hisoka being who he is and having this moment, you know, have it be just a limited time, a one-time thing. You know, I think all that just helped to make it, like, a really fucking awesome moment. But they all of them teaming up into that one sort of combination of, you know, Gon catching the ball, focusing all the power to keep it in that one place, Hisoka behind, keeping it sort of within the bungee gum, and then Killua completely stopping it, stopping the pushback, so they don't get, you know, put out of bounds. Fantastic. And then the whole thing that happened after that, where Gon powers up to his full extent, at least to the full extent of the, like, where he is at now, and using basically the rest of what he had. Of course, we didn't know that until Razor had, instead of, I noticed as soon as he was like, right, that's more powerful than usual, I can't receive it, and I can't, like, you know, if I was to, I'd be pushed all the way back out. So, you know, I was wondering what the fuck he was going to do. He placed all of his aura into his hands. He never did it into his feet like he did last time. So, I'd figured he was doing something completely different. I didn't think he was going to just hit it straight back. But I guess because of the sheer power of it coming towards him, he was able to use that to power. Like, it basically, it's almost like acting like a trampoline, like against his arms to push it all the way back and try and hit him again. And it's just it's crazy the fact that, like, for a split second when Gon's the light of his eyes sort of like left, because we've seen that before when he goes into like that Zetsu mode, that sort of like that very, like, there's like that concentration mode, right, that focus mode. I thought that he was using that in a way to dodge it for a split second. But then I realised, obviously, when he fell down, like, I was like, oh, well, that's not really a dodge. That he just, he obviously passed out because, you know, he'd expended all of his aura, and what he gave everything into that final attack. I just love the fact that, you know, it could only happen that way because otherwise Gon wouldn't have dodged it. And I just love the fact that, you know, obviously Reza, knowing that would have been the case, like, it would have been, like, that would have been it. Like, Reza would have won had Gon not passed out, you know. So it's great, like, to know that, you know, Gon did it, like, he put everything into his attack because he knew that, like, you know, if there's any attack that'll have it'll have the best chance, then it means that I have to give it everything that I have. But then it worked in favour of him passing out when it was coming back, and, you know, Reza had sort of countered it. But I love Hisoka, like, picking up the pieces and basically saying, no, Gon wants a true victory, right? And then using the bungee gum as an actual trampoline, and firing it back. But then not only that, like, keeping the bungee gum itself surrounded on the ball so that Reza couldn't do it again, meaning that the only thing he could do was the ball was being held there with the impact. It pushed him back over. It's fantastic. It's so good, man. Like, everything Hisoka does is great. You know, I love it to bits. It was fantastic. So yeah, I mean, Reza dispersing all of his teammates so that he would regain all the aura and then being hit at his full strength. I knew what he was going for there. It's like, well, this is it. Like, this is like his first attack was what determines the game, essentially, right? So yeah, that was really cool. I also love that Reza was pointing out that Killua was the sort of the crutch of that combination. Like, you know, I just figured that because the focus was on Killua's feet, that, you know, and also, like, well, his sort of posture, like the way he was positioned, I was like, well, he probably put all of his aura into his feet to keep them planted there so that they wouldn't move back. And I didn't think that he would have to use, like, the rest of his aura as well to apply, like, the top half with any real, like, you know what I mean, because all of the focus from Gon was entirely to keep the ball in one place, as was Hisoka's from the back. So there was no, like, at the very top there was no I wouldn't even know the word to sort of describe it, but you get what I mean. Like, you can have your feet planted there all you want, but it doesn't stop, like, your body moving around, like the top of your body moving around, right? So I love, like, so yeah, like, Killua had to take a lot. And it's funny because Killua didn't have to do anything. Like, the strain that he put on his body was entirely to the benefit of his own team, and he got from his own team. Like, none of it was from the opposite, which made him, like, the ultimate supporting like, player on that team. Yeah, so he took a beating. So yeah, I love the fact that, you know, he pointed out Killua at that point. I think it's just great because generally, you know, more often than not, I feel like it's so easy for Gon to get all of the praise in everything, right? Because he's the protagonist of the show. But, you know, so it's nice that Killua gets almost like equal praise in regards to Gon, because I feel like in a lot of shows that just wouldn't be the case. I feel like a lot of other characters can become overshadowed because of the greatness of the protagonist, because that is what the protagonist is supposed to be. Like, he's supposed to be like this wonder kid who can overcome anything. So it's nice to see like Killua like getting that like across the show, you know what I mean, and like in equal merit to Gon as well, which is great, because he is a prodigy. So yeah, great, loved it. Also the music this episode, I don't know what the fucking OST for that little piece there where they were breaking down the combination thing, but that was great. I think that's the first time I've heard that OST in here, and I think that's been my favourite one so far. I also like the sort of like the orchestral like slow kind of it's like tension building like OST. You'll know which one I mean. It comes across a lot. It's generally in terms of like when they are setting up like some kind of exposition for a certain move or something like that. I think that the one time I do remember it happening was when Killua was first showing off his shadow step thing, right? And he was like, it was like there was multiple things. Yeah, I like that one as well. But OST was really cool for that one. I love that. So where are we at? Yeah, so after the end of the game, Reza had come out and basically told him like, Jing wasn't here. I didn't think he would be. I didn't think there was a reason why he would be within there. And yeah, there's also the whole, the story that he was basically telling was the fact that he was also on death row as a murderer. And that he was basically, it's interesting because if he was on death row, I guess that means that he was just taken alongside all of the other, like the pirates and stuff, right? Like he must have been just dragged here along with them as a way to sort of avoid death. So I suppose in that regard, this must be all down to Gene then. Like Gene must have went out and basically said, right, I want death row convicts to do this, But yeah, we've got a little bit of a sort of like a flashback, which they did the same with the other guy, right, the scissors guy, where like they're showing like the reasons why he became a murderer, and it's because he people shat all over him and stuff like that. I think it actually made a point like to say that he was from Meteor City as well. At least that's what it looked like. But he basically referred to, he was like saying like, Jing told me that it only takes the trust of one person to sort of change sort of anything in a way. It left it like rather vague, and I think very expansive for a reason, like basically saying it only takes one person to trust you. Like if Gene was there before like any of this had happened, like I probably would have never become a murderer and end up being a death row convict. But yeah, so I don't know what he does now then. I don't know, like, because if he was there primarily because he was a death row convict, and if he didn't do this, then he probably would have been put to death. Like, what happens at the end of this? I don't know. Because I feel like Path of Shaw is only one thing, right? And I feel like you have to... Well, they have to leave that place, right? So, I don't know what to do. I feel like it's almost like an easy way out for them. It's crazy. I noticed that they completely like disregarded the whole Phantom Troop versus Razor thing as well now. There's no reason for them to really go at it anymore. I guess it was just setting up just so like it was something that could be in the viewer's sort of minds, like, oh, this is what could happen, and that was it. But yeah, well, I guess at this point the Phantom Troop, it's not really about defeating him now anyway. It's just about getting the finding the guy who can treat Crollo and get rid of the sort of law like Nen thing that's on him. So I guess there's no reason for them to really fight at this point. It's not about winning the game. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, the Path of Shore was the woman that gave them the whole story from before. I really should have thought of that, really, because I've said before that the NPCs are cards as well, so I feel like I should have I figured that out. But I suppose I had in my head that there was something like having the Path of Shore card, having to go into the grotto, and then there will be something there. But she says there's just nothing there, and that the real treasure is looking out from the window at the ocean and from this view kind of thing. And it's damn. I feel like there's a lot of cards like that where they just send you to a different place and it's just a thing, it's just like a place that looks different and it's like maybe like a paradise or something. But yeah. So yeah, they made copies of those, gave the copies to Sesgera. They said that the Genthru knew that they would have copies anyway, or they would have. I think it's better, obviously, to prepare for the fact that the opponent has a copy and not a real one. But I think because they were saying that they would think that Sesgera has the real one and not the other way around. So yeah, he has a plan to put them on hold. And force a stalemate for 3 weeks. But he wants to exchange that. If he does manage to do that, exchange it for the lucky Alexandrite card, which I was a bit confused by, because I mean in the same conversation, like, he's basically telling Gon and Kilwa and that it's like you are the only people that can like win this game, right? But in order to win the game, they need that card, right? So why would Sesgera be bothered about getting cards at this point? Unless the game does continue if someone wins it. I always thought that the game would end once one person won it. I thought that was the whole thing, because I thought that's the reason why they're trying to stop the likes of like Genthru winning it. Because if they win it, then they can't. I thought that was the thing. So there's no reason for Sesgera to have any cards. If he's put all of his sort of it seemed like he was completely, he was basically up front and telling the truth, like, you two are the only ones that can do this. There's no reason for him to have it. I don't think it gives him any bonuses that he could really use. I don't know. Can I look it up? Because I'm sure it's come up before, but I don't know where, and I can't be bothered to go through like the episodes and try and find it. Alright, Lucky Alexandrite. Let's have a look. This card allows the caster to experience random once-in-a-lifetime feelings. The user may experience an indefinite number of these events and cannot control when they occur. The user is not able to control whether they are therefore better or for worse, so this card should be used with caution, right? So it's just like, it gives you once-in-a-lifetime experiences, but there could be great experiences or really bad ones. Yeah, so I mean, I feel like there's, I don't know, unless he's some kind of fucking thrill seeker that just wants to, it's fine with that happening. But the one thing that does strike me as odd is Genthru says that Sesgera is something like a single star hunter. Now, we don't know what that is, and it's the most interesting one we've come across, because we've had other like hunter sort of, like genre, almost like genre specific hunter things that you can be. So you can be like, like a bounty hunter, or what else? The gourmet hunter, or so on and so forth. But I think like, so they are pretty self-explanatory. Like, you can guess what those are. a single star hunter, I don't know what that would be. The only thing that I could really possibly think of is like a hunter that has something that is specifically only they can have, like they can, like that's. I feel like that's it. The only real description that we ever got from Genthru when he was explaining it was he's a single star hunter, and we don't know the power that he actually has. I mean, if he does have something that's incredibly strong or whatever, then we haven't seen him use it. And there must have been a reason why he couldn't use it in the dodgeball match. Whether it's just not applicable to dodgeball, or it's a power that he, like, I don't know, like he can only use at certain times, or he doesn't want to give away that this is the power that he does have. I don't know. But Genthru somehow figured out that he is a single star hunter, and whatever that means, it must be something special, because it's the first sort of, quotation marks hunter thing that I've no idea what it means. So yeah. Yeah, so sticking with Says Garrett, I'm glad that he did tell Gon that he was being selfish. I mean, well, it's something that I have said before, like, where Gon gets in a one-track mind of being like, like, because he doesn't take the time to ask others how they feel about the situation, how they should go around it. Gon only sees like a one-track thing of like, this is clearly the right thing to do, that means I'm right and we're going for it. But like, it's not even like he's thinking that, it's just that he does it. So it's like he doesn't think. But like, that the reason why he's doing it is because he's just thinking that the person is doing something wrong, and he doesn't like that, so he just goes for it. But yeah, I'm glad that, like, I don't know how much it'll really affect him. I would like it to, because I feel like the development for Gon would be nice. But it is tricky though, because I mean, I think in terms of characters, right? Like, I mean, I've said before, like the likes of, I in terms of characters that I like the most, I wouldn't put Gon in, like, I don't know, like he'd probably be like fourth on my list. The ones above that would be like Kurapika, Killua, and Hisoka. Because I mean, it's, well, here's the thing. I mean, I find that side characters, it's harsh even calling them side characters, because I feel like they're so prominent that, like, they're not, basically anyone who's not the straight protagonist, right? Like, the characters that accompany them, I tend to find they're the characters that I tend to like the most. Like, you'll be hard pressed to find a show in which I react to where the main character, the character that the story revolves around, is my favorite character. The only one that I could possibly, the only show that I think I've reacted to where that was the case was probably Code Geass, and Lelouch. But, like, I think most times, 99% of the time, the characters that are around because I feel like you can't, with the protagonist, I feel like they are specifically written from the very beginning to be likable, and therefore when you come across them at the very start, like, they won't be doing something that requires real development in the end. Like, they don't develop as much as the characters around them, because the story runs through the protagonist. Generally, it's the protagonist that, like, in the stuff that they do, that helps the people around them and causes the characters around them to develop. So, it tends to be the case that, the protagonists aren't really as fleshed out. They don't have a lot of development surrounding them. And, back to the point of, like, going, I'm wondering whether it would, like, basically being told that he's selfish because of the way that he acts, would that affect him, and would that do anything going forward? I would like to think that it would, but I also feel like it's it's kind of in Gon's nature to not sit there and think, and to just react on instinct in a way, because he is that kind of like wild child. You know, he's like that nature kid, so you know he kind of acts like an animal in a way, and everything's just relying on instinct. So he's not one to just sit there and think. Though I think when you're talking about like the likes of like Killua and stuff like that, and Kurapika and things like, where characters that I care about, if it's going to get to a point where he does stuff that's going to be to the detriment of like characters like that, then it's going to be bad. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Maybe it has to take a bit more. Maybe it actually has to take like an event that occurs because of Gon's selfishness that ends up being like a bad, like something bad really happens because of it. Maybe that's what would deter him. I don't know if just Sesgara saying that would deter him from like this happening in the future. We'll have to wait and see. I feel like that's a good like sort of a good topic though, a good topic for debate. You know, the whole idea of protagonists and stuff, and not really the development tends to not really follow them, because you know, it's more about, you know, I'm talking like generally in shonen. I feel like, you know, I think that's a good thing to bring up. Like, I'm talking about like general shonen anime, not really, you know, because there are other, you know, other shows that aren't shonen where the protagonist tends to get the most development, because it's not a case of like them being the greatest be all end all, you know, like character, like or person, and they can like develop and stuff. Like when you're talking about you know, Steins Gate or something like that, or even Attack on Titan with like Eren and stuff, you know what I mean? You can tell that like the development of that character has gone through a lot. So, you know, I'm talking just in shonen, yeah. But so yeah, I'll just make sure I got that across. But yeah, I think that's all I've got. I don't think there's anything else to really talk about on this episode. But I really enjoyed this episode. It was one of my favourite ones. So yeah, that was cool. But that is all I've got. So thank you everyone for watching. In the description below I've linked certain things. One of them is the Discord, so you can get yourself over there. And I also have a Patreon as well. So if you do want to support me on Patreon, that'd be very much appreciated. There is a bunch of different tiers and rewards that you can you know, support me with. So there is the early access tier for $5 a month. That gives you access to shows a week early, and you get 4 episodes of Hunter x Hunter every week. That's 2 on Monday and 2 on Friday, as opposed to the YouTube general public that only get 2 episodes a week. You know, so by the time this episode comes out, for the general public, you will have access to like shows past episode 110 maybe, you know. So you've got a lot of things there, a lot of episodes that you can just binge watch as soon as you become an early access tier patron for just 1 month, you know, $5. You can probably have access to like 40 episodes that you can just binge watch in the entire month just for $5. So if that sounds worth it to you, go have a look. There's also a full-length tier there where you can watch my reactions in full, and then there's other tiers where you can pay to have certain shows reacted to as well. So yeah, go have a look at that. But that's all I've got. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.